Does Hashimoto's weaken your immune system? Yes. Yes, it does. So Hashimoto's is a autoimmune. It's an autoimmune problem, right? So basically, what happens in an autoimmune problem is the immune system actually flares up when it is triggered by whatever trigger that particular immune condition. And then once, so let's use Hashimoto's for an example. And one of the well-known triggers for Hashimoto's is gluten exposure, because gluten has something called molecular mimicry with your thyroid. It looks exactly like your thyroid tissue. So every time you eat a piece of gluten, it gets attacked, your thyroid gets attacked, you have this immune response. So your immune system is continually flaring up to attack you, because very few people have who have autoimmunities, especially Hashimoto's. Very few people have exposure to one trigger. They have food sensitivity triggers. Some people have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Some people don't. You have inflammatory proteins on the inside of your intestines. You have food sensitivities. You have a lot of things that not only trigger immune responses against your thyroid, but also trigger inflammatory responses. And then you trigger the inflammatory responses, and then they trigger immune responses against your thyroid, and you have all this stuff going on, which is putting a strain on your immune system. So you have a system that is continually flaring up. You want your immune system to be balanced, okay? And so as your immune system keeps getting, as your adrenals and your thymus and all the lymph parts, the lymphatic parts of your immune system, as all these things keep getting taxed, they get tired. It's like a factory that just keeps putting out, 24 hours a day and never gets a break. And eventually the mechanisms start to, of the machinery starts to get weak. They start to break down, and so on and so forth. It's the same with your immune system. It's not unusual for me to run what's called a secretory IgA. So IgA are antibodies that are specific to the inside linings of like your intestines and your esophagus and your nasal passage, because that's where most of your immune system is, on the inside linings of all this. Most of it, as you well know by now, is in your intestine. So this secretory IgA is that 75% of your immune system. And when you have autoimmune patients, whether they're Hashimoto's or not, when you have a Hashimoto's patient, their immune system is continually getting beat up, and it's continually getting exacerbated depending on which stage of Hashimoto's damage they are in. And so that secretory IgA, when it's tested, is low. It's just like crushed. It's interesting because and when you get steroids, what the doctors do is they'll give you steroids, and that's what it dampens inflammation, and then it allows that system to start working again, because the system is already kind of crushed, overactive, crushed, overactive, crushed, overactive. So if you can take the inflammation away, then you'll find that the system will start to stabilize itself. And then over a long period of time, even that's not a good thing, because eventually that will start to affect your system. So Hashimoto's there's so many triggers to Hashimoto's. There's 42 triggers that we know of. And every time you're exposed to a trigger, it puts a demand on your immune system. And then it just, over a period of time, it just wears it out. Does that make you more susceptible to like flus and colds and stuff like that? Yeah. Yes, it does. It does make you more susceptible to all kinds of things, because your immune system is being called upon. I wouldn't say 24 hours a day, but I do I ask my patients to do a daily log just for one day. I have them, I got up in the morning. This is what I ate. This is what I did at work. So sometimes overworking is a trigger. Sometimes I'll see that 8 of the foods that they ate that day is on their food sensitivity list. There's more that maybe they can sleep all night. Insomnia can be a trigger. So you're getting these triggers all the time, and eventually the effect that we just described is what happens if fatigues. Now you become much more vulnerable to other sickness and disease. So yeah, it definitely causes a negative effect on your immune system.